Hey, what's up everyone, it's Luke. I made a YouTube video giving basic tips for new lorry drivers, and I'm back with another video. Unfortunately, this video is to let you all know that I'll be leaving the industry soon. Very shortly, and basically I'm making this video to give my personal opinion and my personal views about the reasons why I want to leave the industry. So a bit about my time in the HGV industry. I've been in the HGV industry about 8 years now. I've done a bit of class 1, class 2, done some different types of work. So I've got quite a good understanding of how the HGV industry operates, even outside as well of being a lorry driver. I've got a bit of understanding of what goes on within distribution and things like that, and what happens in the office and other bits and bobs. But basically I'm going to get straight into it. I made a few notes of the reasons, of the positives and the negatives, and unfortunately I've not come to this decision easily, but I've had quite a lot of time coming up to this decision for the reasons why I want to leave being a lorry driver, and more of it leaving the HGV industry, sorry. So the first thing I'm going to get on to for the negative reason for why I want to leave the industry is work-life balance and the hours that you have to commit to being a lorry driver. So being a lorry driver, you can probably average at about anywhere, probably from, depending on what role you do, probably between 45 and 55 hours, and maybe even some weeks up to 60 hours. Probably more trampers do 60 hours, but if you're working day work, it is possible that some people do up to 60 hours a week. But I would say on average, for me personally, I do about 50 to 55 hours a week. For the last 8 years, 48 weeks of the year. I probably only had about 4 or 5 sick days in the last 8 years. So yeah, basically the last 8 years I've been doing 48 weeks a year, doing it about, probably, let's say, average of like 47 to 55 hours a week on average, excluding breaks. So the reason I want to get into that is that I want to change the amount of hours I do a week. I think it takes someone, my opinion, someone kind of special to keep going year in, year out, and I give so much respect to lorry drivers who've been doing it 20, 30 years, because doing those amount of hours, like month in, month out, year on year, for me, I think I've got to some kind of like slight burnout. I'm still going, I'm fine, I'm doing my lorry driving and things like that. I'm doing, it's not affecting my mental health, but I'm just getting to that point where I'm a bit tired doing the same process every day, doing the same hours. So you could say that, if I'm perfectly being honest, I'm in a bit of burnout as well, being a lorry driver, and I think the industry doesn't help that with the hours being at that set. So that's my first personal view of hours, and how it's affected me, to put it as a negative, because most jobs are like a 37-hour week, 40-hour week, and with lorry driving, like I was explaining, like 50 hours is a normal week. And for me, it's getting to that time where if I find a job that's 37-40 hours a week, I could be saving 10 to 13 hours at home, valuable time at home with my family, or doing things that I want to do as well, more time. I think being a lorry driver, I've struggled over the years trying to go to the gym to fit it in, running and things like that, and I've said to myself, now maybe it's time for me to have a bit more time for myself with that, and having a bit more time at home and trying to do something that would earn the similar money. So, but not to get into it, I'm looking to becoming a driving instructor, a car driving instructor, which will be similar money and less hours, hopefully. But yeah, that's that point. I've written quite a few points down. My next point is no finish time. So most people have a job and they'll have a finish time. They'll have a set shift, whether it's an 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift, 12-hour shift. They're long shifts, 10, 12-hour shifts, but at least when you're finishing. With lorry driving, I've done many 14, 15-hour days, and there might be a few places out there that might give you finish time, but I don't know many. Every single lorry HGV company that I work for, it's job and finish basically, or until there's no places are open where you can't do any more jobs. So let's say you start at 6 in the morning, you have all your deliveries done by 2. Most companies do your deliveries, then you have your collections. Unless you're a tramper, usually they collect from one and then deliver to another around the country. But let's say you're doing day work and you're doing that. It gets to 2 p.m, you call up the office. Oh, I've done all my deliveries. Yep, no problem. We'll give you 3 collections. Oh, great, no problem. Should have them done soon. 4 o'clock, I've done my collections. Oh, Luke, someone's broken down. We just need you to go to, I don't know, Scunthorpe, which is an hour away, collect something. Could you please do it for us? Alright then, no problem. And then you've just told your partner, I'll be home at this time, which is the worst thing in lorry driving, when you tell your family or something that you're going to be home at a certain time, and then they go and ruin it for you. But that's just my opinion. Having no finish time is now getting slightly frustrating. I worked with it for a long time knowing that was the case, and I used to get up every morning knowing when you wake up in the morning knowing what time you're coming home, I think you have a different attitude. But when you're going in work and not having a finish time, it can affect you a bit negatively, like, I don't know what time I'm going to finish today. Sometimes you get lucky, yeah, you can have an 8-9 hour day in lorry driving. It does, they're rare, but you can have them. So that was my next point for me personally, in my personal opinion, of why I want to leave the HGV industry. My next point is difficult delivery points. So I've been lucky enough to gain a lot of experience. I've delivered all over the country, up from Aberdeen all the way down to Bournemouth, Southampton. I've done Wales. I've done a lot of Wales, a lot of Scotland. I've done a lot of Lincolnshire. I live in Lincolnshire, so I've done a lot of Lincolnshire. All the old country roads. I've done a lot of house names, all that. So basically what I'm saying is that difficult delivery points can cause to lead to you to get into trouble sometimes. That's my opinion. Like, I'm a sort of driver, I'll go out and I'll try and stay out of problems, stay out of trouble. But sometimes you can go out and they'll send you to places, the company that you work for, and it'll be some of the most difficult places you can imagine. And if you've never driven a lorry, and if you're someone that finds it difficult to get in hard spots in a car, imagine what it's like if you're a lorry driver and they're asking you to get down single track lanes to house names that are all on a mild single track road, and then you've got to try and reverse on the driveway, or you're blocking the road, and then someone behind you says, how long are you going to be? They start beeping. I've had it tons of times. So difficult place. High streets are a nightmare. If there's nowhere to park in the loading bays and people are parked in the loading bays to do their shopping or pick up a pint of milk, which is probably usually the case, they'll pop in and you've got nowhere to park, and then you create problems because you're parking double parking. And so what my thing is that I used to get a bit of anxiety when going to really difficult places. And yeah, you can say it's part of the job, I know it is, but after a number of years, I just get a bit tired of it now. So that's another reason I'm leaving. I'm tired of really difficult delivery points, basically, and that's just my opinion. And it can get tiring. And if you're only just starting out and you've been doing it for years and years, and you don't mind doing the difficult ones, and that, to begin with, I thought to myself, I find it as a challenge, but then after a while it got tiring, started blocking people in, and I was like, how long is it going to be before someone knocks on my window and go, you can't park there, mate, or all this? And it gets tiring for me personally. My next one is some companies pushing you too hard. Now, this is just my view, and I'm saying this in a respectful way. I don't know if you've heard the saying is that the harder you work, the more work you get. Now, I feel sometimes in the HGV industry that can come true. Not all, I'm not saying all, but some companies I work for, it's been in between. But I've worked for more where the harder you work, I'm quite a hard worker personally, not in a big area. I like to go work hard, come home, earn my money, go home. And, I'm quite old-fashioned like that. I like to just go to work. I hardly have any sick days. But I feel like some companies, just to put it frankly, I'm going to put it out there, can take the mick sometimes. So I've had it before where I've gone to a company I want to impress and work hard, and I'm like, I've got no thank yous, and they're just giving me more work. And I take my time to think about it. I'm quite rational, and I'm thinking, are they taking the mick or what? So over the last years, I've learned that sometimes if you work hard, you get all your deliveries done. They'll go like this in the office. Right, he's done all that. I think we'll give him some more tomorrow. Well, you know, that's how I feel sometimes it can come across. Yeah, sometimes companies and businesses, they've got the stuff that they need to get out, but sometimes I don't think it'd be fair on pushing more work on a person like that, you know, who they know who works hard and won't complain. So sometimes be careful of that. Sometimes you'll get some of the drivers that might, which is worthy. I'm quite a quiet driver and I'll crack on, but you might get some drivers which are, you know, they're well in their way to, you know, to say something to the company if they feel like they're getting pushed too hard. And over the last 3 years, I've started saying that, and I've started telling companies what I think's right and wrong in a respectful way. And, you know, I've been at a place where I told them where I think this, you know, don't take the mick out of me. I basically said it, and I said I'm tired of this over the years, and it did change. They changed the way they gave me my deliveries. So I was like, maybe I was right. Maybe they knew what I was doing. So sometimes with HGV companies, if you don't say anything to them, they'll just push you to the bone, because this is an industry where they'll make you do 50, 60 hours. They'll make you go out and do 15, 20 deliveries in a rigid. As long as they get what that's done and they've got those green ticks, yeah, you've earned your money, but, you know, they're not bothered. I'm not saying all companies, but some will be bothered. Some will treat you with respect, but some of them you'll be a number as long as you get all that done, and they'll push you until you say something. So bear that in mind, and I've definitely had the experience of it, and I've heard other drivers tell me about this as well. So I'm not the only one. My other topic I'm going to go to is, don't know how to put this in the right way. Difficult customers. I was going to say something else then, but yeah, difficult customers. So I've just had a guesstimate on over the years. I used to do pallet work, I used to do residentials and all that, and I used to have 15 deliveries. I used to meet all different, I've met every single kind of different customer you can get. The ones who are brilliant and easy, no problem, speak to you fine, and I've met the ones at the rock bottom where they treat you absolutely like trash. Sorry for my American term, or they treat you like rubbish and they have no respect for you. And that sounds quite harsh for me, but I've had that many customers. I've met so many customers. You're talking hundreds and hundreds, nearly 1,000 customers over my time of lorry driving. I've had ones that are swearing at me, being aggressive. I've had even one instance, I've had someone threatening to knock me out because I wouldn't take their pallets on gravel driveway. It was the company's policy, and even if you try to, you'll get it stuck. You know, once that pump truck goes on the gravel, it will become dead weight, especially if it weighs a ton. I ended up getting an apology letter from that person. I've had people swearing at me. This is not customers, but in general on the road, I've had people swearing and being aggressive with me. I've had people threatening me to report me loads and loads of time. I had one person threatening to me because I went over a blade of grass on their garden. I apologised. They said to report me, but I've never ever been sacked. I've had loads of people say to me, "You're going to get fired. You've done this. You've done that," and I tell them, "Go ahead. It's no problem." I've never ever been sacked for people saying they're going to report me. I've had a lady on a roundabout come out of her trying to get in my lorry, pulling all the straps on my lorry, telling me I was in the wrong lane, and then they checked everything and I wasn't in the wrong lane, and then she spat at my window. So that's like a really quick one, like respect of lorry drivers. I think a lot of people do, but I think there's a small percentage of people who on the road. Going on to that quickly, going off slightly subject, I know I'm going straight a little bit off customers, but that some people have that no respect. That's just my opinion, and I try and go out and I try and be respectful as I can on the road, you know, and I try and do my job as best as I can, but sometimes I feel like being a lorry driver, you know, you're just that person, and some people respect us a lot on the road, don't get me wrong. I'm not like I would say, if I had to guess, like 95% of people respect us on the road, give us the time. You get that 5%, who just don't care, and that goes for customers, and I feel like for people on the road. I'm not a perfect driver, but when I go out on the road, there's people, the situational awareness, you know, their aggressive behaviour towards lorry drivers and they just want to get in front of us constantly. And I know myself, I'm a lorry driver and I'm a car driver. I know I've had my lorry licence since I was 17. I'm 34 now, and I know what it's like to be stuck behind a lorry. But it's just training your brain to be patient. Like, I've had people overtaking me on blind bends, and I just don't understand it. But yeah, just to get that rant out, you know, and I think it's having that dealing of that on the road. You know, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what's going to happen on the road today? What's going to happen? And I've got 0 points. I've never had an accident in a lorry that's been my fault in the last 8 years. I always go out and take my time. So, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, like the way I'm coming across with this. Like I've had I've had tiny incidents on the road where I have done a few things wrong, but not like drastically like some people do on the treated. But I treat every road user with respect. So that's what I'm trying to get at. I feel like some people on the road, like, they don't have the full respect for lorry drivers, and we're going out and we're just in the way and we're a pain, basically. I think that's about it for negatives, really. I don't want to, you know, carry on too much, but I'm going to go on to positives. I want to finish off this video with positives, which I'm going to miss from lorry driving, and that is some companies no, that's the wrong one, sorry. Positives. Being your own boss. So apologies about that. Being your own boss on the road. You know, it's brilliant. You know, as a lorry driver, I've loved over the years being my own boss, going out, doing things I like to do, how I want to operate as a driver, out of my cab, how I do my jobs, tail lift jobs, how I do my taco. Look, if I'm ahead of the day, I'll go out and I'll have a 5-10 minute break. I'll have a packet of crisps or whatever. You know, there's a lot of jobs out there that just, you can't just go, I want a 5-10 minute break. You know, the office, luckily, if you're not being watched too often, if you're ahead of schedule and you want to stop off and lay by 15 minutes and you're like, yeah, or whatever, that's fine. That's absolutely brilliant about this job. No one looking over your shoulder. You know, that's what a brilliant part of lorry driving. So I'm not coming on here to you know, give you all the negatives. I'm just giving you the reasons of why I think the negatives are weighing the positives, but these are the only positives I can find. I've got working how you want to work, basically, and that's about it really for positives. I think sometimes as well, being a lorry driver, you tell some people you're a lorry driver and they'll go, oh wow, amazing, I bet that's quite a difficult job, I couldn't imagine myself doing that. I've told loads of people, and then you get other people, oh, you're a lorry driver, right. And you know, it's like, oh, okay, you're not a fan now. So it's, you know, that's just my thing. Or like, it's, you know, how do people feel being labelled as a lorry driver? It's a big question, you know, the label of being a lorry driver, and it's a big question, like I've just said. Sorry, I've just repeated myself. And you know, it was at one point I was quite proud to say, yeah, I'm a lorry driver, you know what I mean, I earn, you know, half decent salary, but now I don't feel, this is my personal opinion, I don't really feel proud of being a lorry driver, and that is sad to say, and that's just my personal opinion. There might be loads of people who are proud to be a lorry driver, and I appreciate that, and if you are, then keep going, yeah, keep being proud of being a lorry driver, but this is just me, and unfortunately I'm not anymore. I do enjoy some of the positives though, but all those negatives that I've just spoke about in the video, that's what's taking me out of lorry driving. And I will be going on to becoming, hopefully, a driving instructor. I thought I'd put all the years that I've been on the road into practice of being a car driving instructor, and it's, fingers crossed, similar money but less hours. I've been looking into it a lot, so that will be my next endeavour, and that will be in time to come. And I'll be working alone, and I'll be self-employed, similar to like I was in lorry driving. So driving instruction will be very similar to lorry driving, but I'll be in the passenger seat. I'll have a bit of break off driving. It's not going to be a walk in the park for me. I'm going to be learning more skills. And hey, you never know, I might come back after a long time to the HGV industry. I might come back, I might not. I've got to make that decision once I become a driving instructor, fingers crossed. I'm going to try my best to do that. And I want to thank you all for listening. I hope some of my negativity for some of the lorry drivers that are just starting out hasn't winded you down too much and you don't want to leave. But if you are enjoying lorry driving and you love it, then just, you know, carry on what you're doing. I don't want this to put you off. It is just my personal opinion, because I've got another YouTube video. You know, I wanted to let everyone know where I am. And if you are lorry driving, keep trucking, you know, keep positive, and yeah, keep earning that money. And yeah, thank you all for listening, and I'm going to crack on now and speak to you all again soon. Thank you.